Welcome to the show, baseball fans. This is the Bullpen Podcast. I am your host, Chris Krogman. You can find me on the Twitter machine at ShyBears1985. You can find my co host, Mr. Adam Kunos, at Kunos19. And we are sponsored by Fanatics. Head on over to Fanatics for all of your MLB holiday shopping. You can find lots of good deals, stocking stuffers for the kids, ladies' gear for the wife. And yeah, Adam, how are you tonight, man?
Doing good, doing good. Enjoying this last week before the true holiday season kicks off next week with Thanksgiving, and this show will put like a closing on the 2021 season and kind of go to the 2022 season.
Yep, we have the pretty much the baseball award show today. We'll talk about who won the Gold Gloves, the Silver Sluggers, who won the MVP today, the Coach of the Year, and the Rookie of the Year the last few days. It's nice that the baseball schedule or the award schedule worked out so that we're able to bring you most of the really fun awards. Comeback Player of the Year is still to be announced this weekend, and I think there's like one other minor award, but the big ones are out of the way. Lots of fun, lots of stuff to talk about. There's been some other news, manager hirings and general manager hirings and things that we can get into. But the big topic tonight will be the awards as we wrap up the MLB season. The Atlanta Braves, congrats to them again for being the 2021 World Series champions and kings of the hill when it comes to the baseball land.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats to them. They're well deserved rest before the spring training kicks off. I know the city of Atlanta is just eager for next season to start to raise that 2021 banner up in right field on the Raptors with all those other pennants they have.
Yeah. So, Adam, let's get into these awards. We'll start out with the American League Gold Glove Award winners and their fielding percentage. The Oakland A's represent well with two of them. The Astros have two. The Royals have two. So at catcher is Sean Murphy of the Oakland Athletics. He had a 993 fielding percentage. At first base is Yuli Gurriel of the Astros with a 995 fielding percentage. Marcus Simeon, who had a phenomenal year, we'll talk about him more later, had a 984 fielding percentage at second. Matt Chapman for the A's got the third base gold glove with a 987 fielding percentage. Carlos Correa for the Astros got the shortstop nod at 981. Andrew Benintendi for the Royals with a 987 fielding percentage in left. Michael A. Taylor also for the Royals with a 992 in center. Joey Gallo, not just bringing the bat, but also the glove out there in right for the Yankees with a 980. And Dallas Keuchel for the Chicago White Sox wins the Golden Glove for pitchers in the American League. For the team, best fielding team percentage was the Astros at 98.8%. And, that was part of the reason they got as far as they did in the playoffs. Defense means a lot in Major League Baseball, whether people want to believe it or not. Run saved is a big deal. And, it means a lot. So it's not just how many home runs you can hit, it's also how many runs you can prevent. Any surprises here, Adam?
No, looking across the board, no surprises. I'm just gonna go with Marcus Simeon. I mean, he pretty much had a hell of a year defensively and offensively, but the defensive play for him was probably his strongest suit this year. Um, I think he's just kind of making a staple name for himself at second base for going down next couple of years. I think he's going to be all-star second baseman, and I think he'll have a phenomenal career moving forward. And this is just like a staple for what he has the potential to do. Dallas Keuchel, not surprised there. If you see him pitch, he's an excellent defensive pitcher, and he also induces a lot of ground balls. He's not a pure strikeout pitcher. He puts the ball in play, so he induces a lot of ground balls, which even though he struggled this year, had ERA over 5, he still can put that ball on the ground and make it easy for the White Sox defense.
Yeah, definitely. Marcus Simeon's been around for a little while. He's 31 years old, which is still pretty young in the baseball world. Coming off of his best season ever, he is a free agent, I believe, this coming winter, depending on if we even have baseball. Hopefully, they get that worked out in the next couple of weeks. As we know, the CBA is coming to an end, but Marcus Simeon had a great line. A great year, great offensive stat line, great defensive stat line. Got balled out and was a big reason the Blue Jays were made a good push towards the end of the year. The American League Platinum Glove went to Carlos Correa of the Astros. Not really sure how they determine that. Can't just be based on fielding percentage. Probably has to do with defensive runs saved and some amount of other advanced stats and just overall feeling. But he takes home the Platinum Glove for the Stros.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the Platinum Glove award really works, so I think you're right. It has to deal with defensive assist, play errors, and just again, I'm not sure how that award works. If anyone knows, please let us know.
It's a fan selected. It's fan selected. It looks like.
Huh.
Platinum Glove Award is given to the best defensive player of the year from each league. To determine the Rawlings Platinum Glove Award winners, fans select one player among the 9 Rawlings Gold Glove Award winners from each league. So I don't know when we were supposed to vote on that, but they didn't send us our ballot.
I'll check my mailbox again. I missed my vote.
As part of the baseball media, we fully expect to get all of those in our inbox. You can reach us at the Bullpen Lounge at Gmail. I know our name has changed and that's confusing, but it is what it is.
That it is. I expect the Hall of Fame vote ballot to be in our mailbox shortly.
Well, yeah. I mean, shit. We pump out good information over here. We know our shit. So I would expect that we're going to vote on whether or not Busta Posey gets to bust a move into the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Let's switch over to the National League Gold Glove winners. We had the Cardinals well represented in the National League form. Braves with 2 themselves, and then Giants and Pirates with 1. So Jacob Stallings, catcher for the Pirates, with a .995 fielding percentage. Paul Goldschmidt of the Cardinals, a .998. Tommy Edman of the Cardinals with a .990. Nolan Arenado, third baseman for the Cardinals, .974. Brandon Crawford of the Giants with a .983. Tyler O'Neill of the Cardinals had .962 out in left field. Harrison Bider of the Cardinals in center field has a .990. Adam Duvall for the Braves of .992. And Max Fried of the Braves with a .978. I mean, these are all, if you're looking at number-wise, they're all excellent percentages. There's no one below a .950 on this list.
And this is something we should have looked at deeper during the season when we were like, how the hell are the Cardinals pulling this shit out of their ass? This is why, right here. Yeah. I mean, you save runs, you get outs when they're needed, you field well, you don't make errors, you win baseball games. I mean, no matter how many home runs you hit, like I said, at the end of the day, over 162 games, you're going to need to play defense. You're going to need to play mistake free defense. Being a Mets fan, going back to their, run in the late 90s and early 2000s, this was one of their biggest reasons why they were able to be as successful as they were, is they had a great fielding infield. And that's what you see out of the Cardinals. You got 3 out of their 4 infielders. You have 2 outfielders. It's just incredible. Again, with the Braves, why did they, make it as far as they did? They have a great fielding pitcher and a great right fielder in Adam Duvall, who they made a move for at the deadline. And as a team, the Cardinals had a 98.6% fielding percentage. That is phenomenal. And the fans gave the platinum golden glove or platinum glove, whatever, to Nolan Arenado, who is a great fielder and has an absolute cannon for an arm.
Yeah, and going back to the Cardinals, and you look at Goldschmidt and Arenado, you have 2 Gold Glove winners who are former National League West rivals with Arizona and Colorado. Now you put them on the same field in St. Louis, and it just plays well with each other. You got one hot corner, one on first base. You got two MVP candidates each year, Silver Slugger candidates each year, Gold Glovers, multiple years as a Gold Glover, All Stars. So they have a pretty good infield when you look just at those 2 positions alone.
Absolutely, they're fantastic defensively. So, kids, you want to play baseball, learn how to field the ball cleanly and don't make errors. And I don't like to say don't make mistakes, because we learn from our mistakes, and every time you practice you get better. So practice your ground balls, do the best you can to learn the fields you play on, and how that's going to change the trajectory of the ball. If you're in high school and you're listening to this show, you have nothing better to do. But anyway, that's beside the point. Go out there and catch some grounders, because it means a lot. So moving on to one of my favorite awards, is the Silver Slugger Awards. These are a lot of fun. They're given to the best hitters at each of their positions. Adam, why don't we start with the American League and bust out some of these phenomenal strokers of the baseball?
Yeah, and let's start with probably the one that was not surprised at catcher, Salvador Perez of the Royals. 273 average, 48 home runs, 121 RBIs, 859 OPS. I mean, he had a career year. He just had a year to remember as a catcher for Kansas City this year. You had Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the Blue Jays as your first baseman, Marcus Semien, Blue Jays for the second baseman, Rafael Devers, who took home the Red Sox for third baseman, Xander Bogaerts was the shortstop for the Red Sox, Teoscar Hernandez of the Blue Jays is one of your outfielders, Aaron Judge of the Yankees, Cedric Mullins of the Orioles, and Shohei Ohtani of the Angels. So, I mean, you look at some of these stats across the board, it is just phenomenal. I mean, you have multiple 40 home run hitters on this list, a couple who had over 110 RBIs, OPS above 850. I think this is probably the best list of Silver Sluggers I've seen in a while.
Yeah, you've got multiple guys who hammered the baseball. Ohtani, Semien, and Guerrero and Perez over 40 home runs. Bogaerts and Devers for the Red Sox at third and shortstop. Just crushing with 38 and 23 home runs. Bogaerts with a 295 batting average. Just absolutely, these are a lot of fun, and we've seen, like you said, this is probably one of the best lists of Silver Sluggers out of the American League in quite some time.
Yeah, and I'm going back to the list, and the lowest average I'm seeing comes from Aaron Judge, who has Shohei Ohtani, who was hitting 257, but he also was DHing and pitching for most of the season. So you couldn't throw him out there for risk of injury. But I mean, these are all solid hitters across this list. I don't think there's an argument of anyone that shouldn't be on why they shouldn't be on this list. I think they got this one. I think this is a list I can agree with 100% from top to bottom.
Yeah, they Shohei Ohtani was also busy hitting moonshots every other at bat. So, when you're doing that, you might not have the best batting average.
Correct.
But switching over to the National League, Buster Posey, best stat line 300 hitter as a catcher is phenomenal. Freddie Freeman with a 300 average, 31 home runs. Ozzy, if you don't know, Freddie Freeman plays for the World Championship Braves. Ozzy Albies also for the Braves with a 259, 30, 106 slash. Austin Riley for the Braves, 303, 33 home runs, 107 ribbies. Fernando Tatis with 42 home runs at short for the Padres. Juan Soto with 29 home runs, a 313 batting average, and 95 ribbies. Bryce Harper, 309, 35, and 84 with a 1044 OPS. Absolutely crushed it. We'll talk about Bryce here a little bit deeper in a while. Nick, there's a deep drive to left field. Castellanos, 309, 34 home runs, and 100 RBIs. And Max Fried stealing the Silver Slugger from Jake DeGrom. With a 273 and 5 RBI year. I only joke about that because Jake DeGrom, before he got hurt, was absolutely stroking the ball.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, DeGrom is probably one of your better hitting pitchers out there. He does have a good swing. He does put the ball in the field. But unfortunately, the injuries kind of got the best of him. But, I mean, Max Fried is, I think, well-deserving of that award, too. One thing I find interesting is Tatis Jr. for shortstop. Since he was injured for a good chunk of the season, and he swapped to the outfield for later in the season, but was still able to take home a Silver Slugger for shortstop. I mean, when he's healthy, he has a sweet bat.
How many games did he play at each? Because I feel like he played a good amount of games at shortstop.
Let me look that up for you real quick.
He is still listed as a shortstop. Let's see here. Oh, this isn't going to tell me. Yeah, it's not going to give me breakdowns on Baseball Reference. But anyway, so Silver Slugger's fun. It's a lot of fun awards. Some of these guys are free agents or could potentially be moved this season, which is always interesting. Buster Posey obviously retired. Nick Castellanos for the Reds. We talked about how they're looking to unload a lot of capital. Juan Soto is pretty much the only person left in the Nationals organization that anybody knows who he is. So, shockingly, we saw Scherzer and Trey Turner get moved last year, with Turner still having money left on his deal. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Juan Soto get moved this offseason. Bryce Harper, man, he went on an absolute tear there in the middle of the season.
Yeah, he did. And going back to Tatis Jr., he had 102 games at shortstop, 7 games in center field, 20 games in right field, and then a game at DH, which doesn't really help his fielding percentage. So 27 games in the outfield. So, I mean, still pretty decent, but I would still put him as your Silver Slugger for shortstop because that's where he did the most damage.
So you do not get any fielding attributes when you are a designated hitter? Is that what I'm to understand?
I mean, if you can somehow jump off the bench and help with a ball in play, which
is that legal?
I don't think that is
legal. They change a lot of rules in baseball, so I don't know, man. Maybe you tend to have a lot more be a lot more tapped into the nuances and the minutia of the baseball rules, Adam. So I just want to make sure that we're clear that you do not get extra fielding percentage for jumping off the base or jumping off the bench and grabbing a ball.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Glad we cleared that up for everybody at home, folks. I know that was a little touch and go there for a minute, but I think we got it figured out.
I think we're good. Like I said, prime information here on the bullpen podcast.
Well, yeah, we got to give the folks what they need to be, educated baseball fans, and it's the end of the year. It's a long season. They call it the dog days of summer, and we made it through. But now it's time to fuck around and have some fun. So
Absolutely, why
I
not?
like to joke. Adam likes to joke. He works for Disney, so he likes to entertain people.
Entertain I do, and you know what? Let's do it right now. Let's have some fun.
Sounds good. What do you want to talk about?
Let's move on to our manager of the years, and we'll start with the American League manager of the years. Kevin Cash, back-to-back winners, took home the award last year, took it home again this year, led the Rays to a 162 season stat line, won the AL East by 8 games, franchise best 100 wins this season. Edges out Scott Servais of the Mariners and Dusty Baker of the Astros. My only thing with this one, I could have seen Scott Servais of the Mariners getting this award just for how well the Mariners played down the stretch, how well that team is built for the next couple of years. So
yeah, they were projected to be a very sub 500 team. And Servais took a team with, not only low expectations, but just a pretty young team, only had 4 guys with 130 games played and took them to 90 wins. And that's pretty impressive considering, the talent he was working with to get there. As far as Dusty Baker goes, he's a Hall of Fame manager. He had Justin Verlander go down. They lost George Springer. They still ended it up, taking the AL West and eventually the pennant. So Baker was solid, and I think Kevin Cash, though, again, a young squad that we'll talk a little bit about how young they were and two of the special kids that they have. But they have a very small payroll in Tampa Bay, $30 million less than any other team to reach the playoffs. They won over 100 games for the second year in a row, or close, and won the AL East 2 years in a row.
Yeah, so the first time winning 100 games in their franchise history. They did back-to-back 90-plus game win seasons. Right. And they had a starting pitching rotation that was not the same rotation they had in the World Series last year. So they had a completely different starting pitching staff. They bring in Chris Archer, who really didn't make a huge impact for the Rays this year, but again, that this small market mentality that Tampa has, for some reason, it works for this team. They have found a way to do more with a little payroll. And if I am a team that's looking like this, like Miami, Colorado, or any small market team, I'm looking at Tampa as this blueprint. It's like, how can we duplicate this so we can have the same success that they have? I mean, 3 straight postseason appearances. You get to the World Series in 2020. You hold the best record in the American League this year. I mean, they could be a favorite going into next season, right off the bat. But it all depends on who do they keep. Do they keep Nelson Cruz over the offseason? Do they let him walk to another team? So it's a lot of question mark for the Rays going forward.
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic manager, and we'll see how the Rays shake out next year. I think they continue to play well. I see no reason why they won't continue to be successful with the young talent and a good manager like Cash. Excuse me.
Good.
Over on the National League side, the San Francisco Giants manager Gabe Kapler took home the Hardware with 107-55 record. They won the NL West by 1 game. We'll talk about a little bit how they ended in the power rankings later that I'm a little confused about, but hey, shit happens. Another funny thing that happened in the National League, so he beats out Craig Counsell of the Brewers. They, did well, won the NL Central by quite a few games, ended up taking an early dip out of the playoffs, which was surprising. And that's not right. That's not his name. It's not Mike Schmidt. It's shit or something like it's pronounced different. Hold on. Schilt.
Yeah, Schilt.
Mike Schilt. I think autocorrect got us tripping. So yeah, he beat out Mike Schilt of the Cardinals, and the Cardinals went on to fire that dude, which is just fucking ridiculous. I don't even understand why that guy got fired. He's gonna end up probably managing the Mets. Watch, but Gabe Kapler, phenomenal job with the Giants. We talked about it pretty much all year. I think Kapler did a lot with the talent he was given.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to the beginning of the season, no one was even putting San Francisco in the same category as Los Angeles, San Diego. That you had those two teams as your top teams going into the West, and good for Kepler. He took this squad, he kind of hunkered them down, and they, as soon as the season started, they took off running. They were the team that got past LA, overtook LA for that division lead, and it got pretty close for them. I mean, there was a chance that the season, if a couple games did not go their way, they would have lost that division lead and been a wild card team. But you held the glue together. You bring in Chris Bryant during the trade deadline to just kind of bolster that offense, and 107 wins for that team. That is just fucking ridiculous, especially for the Giants, who really haven't been contending since they last won the World Series in 2014.
I just love that, Kapler was a player and not a phenomenal player at that, And if I remember correctly, there was always rumors about him having performance enhancing drugs or something because of how he's built. He was pretty thick dude. But he's a great coach, great manager. So hats off to Kapler and the Giants for making him he's also fairly young. He's only 46 years old. Few years older than Adam and myself, but yeah, did well. I just trip out about Mike Schilt getting fired after almost being manager of the year. Can you imagine if they fire him and then he wins? It wasn't announced.
No, the same thing happened last year with Ricky Renteria and the White Sox. Ricky Renteria finished third in the AL Manager of the Year voting, but was let go after the White Sox got bounced in the wild card round by Oakland. And I remember White Sox Twitter was blowing up by going, if they win, if he wins Manager of the Year, should they just bring him back? Should Rick Hahn rehire him?
Could you imagine how ridiculous? That I would be hilarious. If I got fired from a job and they called me back and it was just kidding, man. We love you, Chris. Ricky Renteria, you're our boy. Come on back, man. Mike Schilt, we think you're great. Don't leave us hanging. What are the Cardinals going to do? Did they hire somebody already?
Yeah, they hired. They do have a new manager coming in. I think he's actually one of the youngest manager in the league right now.
Oh yeah, that's right. We looked at this last or 2 weeks ago. He's 34 years old or some shit, right?
Yeah.
I'll look it up. You tell me who won other awards because I think we got some other ones.
We're going to go on to reliever of the year, and my notes crashed, but I can still get on. So we're going to start with Liam Hendriks of the Chicago White Sox, your AL reliever of the year. A lot of question marks around him being signed in the offseason. Was it the right move? And this clearly states that it was the right move for the White Sox. He led the league in saves, 38 saves in 69 appearances, 8-3 record, and average. He held batting averages was a 100 average, so he's holding batters to pretty much minimal. He did have some issues with giving up home runs, but he's still a dominant closer. He is still a dominant closer. Yeah,
Oliver Marmol is the guy that for the Cardinals. But yeah, no, Hendricks was great. I wonder if they didn't kind of upset the apple cart by bringing in that other schmuck.
Oh, Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah,
I remember talking about when Kimbrell came when they brought him over from the Cubs. It's like, will he upset the balance in that bullpen? And it kind of worked. It kind of didn't. I mean, there were some days where Kimbrell was not as effective. He's more of a National League pitcher in my mind, not an American League pitcher. But there were days where you lined up Kimbrell and Hendricks, and the stars aligned, and it was just a shutout eighth, shutout ninth inning. So I think if you get a full season of these two, it should be interesting for them.
yeah. I think the highlight of Liam Hendricks' season for me was him being mic'd up for the All-Star game. That was pretty entertaining.
That the entertaining part about that, and then not realizing that the microphone was still working, and just hearing all of his antics. I think he should be mic'd up for the entire year. I mean, you put a mic on him for the entire year, that just sells itself.
Yeah, he's a passionate pitcher. We'll put it that way. He likes to get after it, and he is very involved and very excited to throw the baseball very hard. On the National League side of the reliever of the year award is Josh Hader of the Milwaukee Brewers, 4-2 record, 1.23 ERA in 60 appearances. He had 34 saves, pitched almost 60 innings, almost a 2-1 strikeout to innings pitched at 102 strikeouts, had a 127 hitting average against. Those are good numbers. But I think the Mets got him once, which was fun.
Yeah, I mean, the phenomenal numbers again. Like you said, 4-2, 60 appearances, 34 saves. He's holding averages down to 127, so he's dominant coming out of the bullpen. And I mean, again, two of your best relievers, opposite leagues, both in the Central, on teams that pretty much ran their division from once they got in the first place to the end of the season. I mean, and they're both keys in why these teams got to the playoffs this year, because they were able to come in and close out games.
100%. I'm looking at his blown saves for the year just for fun, because he didn't have, when I was talking about that Mets blown save, that was his first blown save of the year, and that didn't happen until like mid-July. So Hader, my point being is that Hader had a phenomenal year in that he was absolutely ridiculous. But it does look like that was kind of the beginning of a rough patch for him. I'm trying to find how many blown saves for the year he had, but Hader is a great pitcher. I feel like he has a contract coming up, but I can't remember. Anyway, good pitcher, reliever of the year in the National League. Moving up and moving on, the big awards are coming. I think we should do Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and then the MVP, and we have it listed backwards. So
We'll switch that. So yeah, let's start with Rookie of the Year. Get there real quick. So we'll start. You want to start in the American League Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, Randy Azar. I'm probably gonna pronounce the name wrong. Azariet of the Rays. I'm probably gonna get Bosch on social media. I'll bring it. For the Rays, this is one of the reasons why the Rays are so good this season, just because of how well he played this year. He was one of the mainstays for the Rays, and just being that young talent that they could bring up and put on the field and instantly have an impact.
Yeah, I think it's a Rosarina.
Rosarina. Yeah, like
Yeah, it's almost like Rice-A-Roni, like the San Francisco treat, but it's a Rosarina, the Tampa Bay treat. Um, no, he had this kid started in the 2020 postseason and just continued to blossom into this year. Had a 2020 season, only one for rookies, which is 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, slash 274, 356, and 459. Had an 815 OPS, which was fantastic, best among rookies. Um, had a 3.3 FWAR, and that led all rookies. The only other contenders for the award were his teammate Wander Franco, who's an absolute beast. And if he would have gotten into the lineup earlier, you could have seen him win the rookie of the year, but he didn't get into the season until I think like a month and a half in maybe mid May or early June is when Franco made his debut, but he's only 20 years old. And he hit 302, 354, 473. Only had, oh no, sorry. It had a 2.5 FWAR. Luis Garcia for the Astros was a phenomenal pitcher, threw 155 innings, had a 3.3 ERA, a 3.63 FIP. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's an advanced pitching stat that has to do with ERA, but it brings in the fielding percentage. Struck out 26% of batteries. Those batteries are tough. They're charged up.
Exactly.
Walked 7.9% of batters that he faced. So hats off to Randy Arozarena and the Tampa Bay Rays, who have just a plethora of young talent, and makes it easy for Kevin Cash to win Manager of the Year. Lots of awards coming out of Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and well deserved for Tampa Bay too. A lot of these are well deserved for that team, just with how well they performed this year and how well that front office puts this talent on the field.
Yeah, Rosarina took 22 out of 30 first place votes. Moving on to the National League Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India of the Cincinnati Reds, 29 out of 30 first place votes. I wonder who got the other one. I bet it was Carlson. But Jonathan India was the number 5 overall pick in 2018. Had a 3.9 FWAR and an 835 OPS. Double-digit home runs and stolen bases. He had 21 homers and 12 stolen bases. Doesn't chase the ball out of the strike zone, and he's a speed demon on the base paths. So congrats to Jonathan India. Other finalists were Dylan Carlson of the Cardinals, 22 years. Yeah, 22-year-old. He played an important role with the Cards, launched 18 home runs, had a couple stolen bases, hit 266, 343, 437, had a 2.8 FWAR, and then Trevor Rogers for the Marlins, fantastic pitcher. Highest FWAR for a rookie pitcher at 4.2. 133 innings pitched, had a 264 ERA, struck out nearly 30% of batters, only walking 8.4%, and had a 214 opponents average against. He was electric. So the Marlins always have these just random talent, in their organization. Not random. I mean, they always have talent in their organization, and we'll see Trevor Rogers for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's funny how Miami can get this young talent together and then somehow just blow it up and trade them when they're in their prime. So who knows? I mean, with new ownership, if they go by this route, but I mean, he's definitely a good pitcher. And going to Dylan Carlson of the Cardinals, good hitter as well. So, and a lot of young hitters are not chasing as much as you saw rookies chasing in the past. They're a little more patient. But I think that's more of the fundamentals, how they're changing, how you get more video stats. They're looking at video, they're looking at stat lines, they're looking at just in-depth stats for pitching, and they're planning better when they go to the plate.
100%. 100%. And Jonathan India, man, that guy plays like he's a veteran. So
Yeah.
hats off to him. I'm going to stay in the National League and go with the Cy Young. We were kind of all over the place with this one. We went, Zach Wheeler kind of mid to mid to 3/4 of the way through the season. And then once Scherzer got traded to the Dodgers, he was absolutely freak show and won a bunch of games in a row, pitched extremely well for the Dodgers. But the National League Cy Young Award winner was Corbin Burnes of the Milwaukee Brewers. He only received 12 of 30 place votes, which kind of goes to show you that the other finalists, Scherzer and Wheeler, were deserving of the award as well, or at least deserving to be finalists. The stat line on Burnes was a 2.43 ERA, 1.63 FIP, which is fucking insane. 35% strikeout rate. That is just bananas. That's over, a third of the people you face. You're striking out, and he only walked 5.2% of batters faced, which is, again, just absolutely insane. That is pinpoint accuracy on all parts of the plate. People didn't hit the ball hard against him either. So he only had 28 starts. He only threw 167 innings, but when he was on the mound, he was absolute fire.
Yeah, and going back to his wins, he said his 11 wins is, even though it's not much, that's still a career high for him. He said a career low in losses. Actually, no, he has one loss, but that was for 2020. Yeah, dominant pitcher, and can you just imagine if he had a full season, a full healthy season, how dominant he could be? Could this have pushed Milwaukee over that edge going forward? But I just want to imagine him fully healthy in that Milwaukee pitching staff and that bullpen they have, how dominant he can be.
Yeah, he's gonna be good. I mean, he's a good pitcher. Why am I looking at couches? On the for the other guys, since they were worthy candidates, Max Scherzer, the dominance from him with a 2.46 ERA, 2.97 FIP in 180 innings of work, had a 7-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. When he got to the Dodgers, though, he had a sub-2 ERA and posted a 3 FWAR, and that is the best in the majors. Like I said, he got to LA and just it hit another level. Zach Wheeler, 213 innings pitched was the most in the majors. Had a sub-3 ERA, 7.3 FWAR, only second to Burnes, and his 247 strikeouts were the most among National League pitchers. He had 3 complete games and 2 shutouts, both tied for the most amount in the majors. So I thought Wheeler was going to be the guy, but he did kind of tail off at the end of the season. I guess when you're pitching the most amount of innings in the league, you don't put up the same amount of dominant numbers per inning. It starts to fall apart a little bit. But Zach Wheeler was fantastic for the Phils this year.
Yeah, I mean, and a team that was competing towards the end, but kind of tailing off again towards the end, he kind of held that pitching staff together. He was definitely that ace that they would go to. I mean, I think he needs a little more help around him. I don't think it can just be him on that staff. I think he needs a good second, third pitcher in that rotation to kind of complement him. And I mean,
So Aaron Nola and what was the guy they added from the Rangers? Whatever that 6'7" monster was, those weren't good enough. He needs more.
I think he needs something a little more that can complement him as pitcher. So I mean, you get someone that.
I bet if he had the Cardinals defense, he would have had better numbers. Anybody with that infield, Jesus.
Oh yeah, infield is just absolutely fucking phenomenal. Because Zach Wheeler is more of a. Would you say he's more of a power pitcher or more of a breaking ball pitcher?
I'd say he's a power pitcher. He strikes people out, but he's got some good stuff.
Yeah, and I think if you put someone behind him who's a good breaking ball pitcher who can just create those outs, I think you'd set up a good 1-2 tandem, and I think that would complement him well going into the offseason or going into next season.
Sure. I don't want to see that though. But that's neither here nor there. So moving on to the American League. Adam, why don't you tell us about the American League Cy Young and the finalist and award winner?
So we have Robbie Ray as your American League Cy Young winner, 13-7, 2.84 ERA, 32 game starts through 193 innings, 248 strikeouts, a 104 WHIP. Only gave up only hit 4 batters, walked 52. I mean, since going from Arizona to Toronto, he has been a completely different pitcher. I had a chance to see him pitch in Arizona with the Diamondbacks, and he's good. He's a great pitcher. His stuff isn't electric, but he has that movement on that ball that can just confuse hitters. So I'm happy that he won a Cy Young and finally got the recognition I think he deserves after being in Arizona and kind of being not necessarily the ace, but kind of like that third or fourth guy.
Yeah, Toronto did well with him. Signed him into a 1-year deal, so we'll see if he can stay there in Toronto, get an extension. I know they just extended. What's his name? The kid they traded for that we talked about at the deadline.
Oh, Berrios.
Yeah, Jose Berrios. They just gave him $107 million over 4 years, I think, or 4-year extension, because he had another year on his deal. But anyway, Jose Berrios extension. Runners up were Garrett Cole and Lance Lynn. Garrett Cole obviously is a big fat cheater. He uses sticky stuff like spider tack, and he plays for the Yankees, so we already know he's a cheater. No, I'm kidding. He did well. He had a 3.23 ERA. 292 FIP in 181 innings of work, had 33% strikeout rate, which was the best in the American League, 5.3 FWAR, only second to Nathan Eovaldi of the Red Sox. Lance Lynn had the fewest amount of innings for the American League Cy Young finalists with only 157, but he was absolutely dominant at 2.7 ERA, 3.23 FIP, and 27% of his batters were walking back to the dugout, hanging their heads, looking shameful as they struck out. 7% of batters went to first, and only 20% of batters got a hit against him. His 4.2 FWAR was the fourth best in the American League. He had an okay year. Lance Lynn was good. The White Sox were so far ahead of everybody else. I wonder if he didn't fall into some of that kind of not needing to, pour it on, so he didn't pitch as many innings as the rest of the guys.
Yeah, and I know that a lot was made for when the Sox made a trade in last year's offseason they send I can't remember who they sent, but they sent a good young pitcher down to Texas. And it was a question of why give up a good young pitcher for this Lance Lynn, who has a good career. I mean, he's a World Series winner with Tony La Russa in 2011 with the Cardinals, but he actually, you go into the home opener and you throw a complete game shutout in your first game at the cell in a White Sox uniform, and that kind of sets the standard for how your season goes. All-star nod, well deserving of that all-star nod as well. So, I mean, and he earned himself a 3-year contract extension with the White Sox mid-season just by his first half performance. So that tells you that the White Sox are putting a lot of trust into him going through the next couple of years on being part of this pitching staff and hopefully taking this team to the next level, which they want to get to. I see that smirk.
They don't want to get there. They just won the AL Central, and they're like, we're good. We're just going to go home. We're fine. Who cares? We don't want to win. All right. Best award or most fun, most popular, most valuable player of the year for each league. That guy in the National League that everybody loves to hate, Bryce Harper, won his second MVP of his career, had 17 of 30 first place votes. So really only 50% of people thought he was the MVP. Other people thought it should have been Juan Soto or Fernando Tatis, who were the runners up to Bryce Harper, who is the first Philly to win the MVP since 2007. Do teams often have MVP? I mean, are there like more teams with more MVPs like consistently than others? I guess is the really shitty way of asking that question.
No, because I was looking at this too, and when I was going through like past MVP winners, and it kind of jumped. It's been jumping all over the place for teams over the last decade. More in the National League, American League is a little more. You'd see a little more consistent with teams that just run away with MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Honestly, I'd prefer the. God damn it. I prefer it not be all with, one or two teams and that it is more symmetrical to the rest of the league, which is not the right word, but my brain's not working anymore. So, yeah, that's good. I like to see that. Harper, started out the year rough, got hit in the face, because nobody likes him, but no. I'm kidding. He had the second highest FWAR of his career at 6.6. The only time he had a higher mark was the 9.3 MVP season he had in 2015. Led the majors with a 1.04 OPS. Winning runs created was 170. It's not winning runs created. I can't remember what the W stands for. Anyway, runs created plus was 170, and his 16.7% walk rate was third best in the league. 35 home runs, sixth best in the National League, and he also had 13 stolen bases, which for a former catcher, that's pretty solid. Juan Soto and Fernando Tatis were the runners up. Soto led the National League in walk percentage. He hits the ball really, really far. He's a fun player to watch, and he's solid at the plate. Guys that can hit for power and walk are awesome because you see a lot of these guys that hit the ball a shit ton and that's all they do. So he only hit 29 home runs, but in that offense behind, he only had Trey Turner protecting him and only for half the season. So I think Juan Soto is definitely, deserving of being in the conversation. Fernando Tatis started out the year absolutely on fire. We talked about it early in the year or mid-season when we started this podcast that the all three National League teams were over 100 in run differential, and the big reason for the Padres being there was Tatis. 42 home runs, 25 stolen bases, 611 slugging percentage, was only behind Bryce Harper, and he had a .328 ISO rating, which is the isolated power rating. Anything above a .2 is fantastic. So to have a whole tenth of a point higher is just ridiculous. That also led the National League. And like we said, from a shortstop, Tatis is fun. He's a fun player. He gets after it. He he causes a lot of havoc with the unwritten rules stuff, but for baseball to continue to grow and to bring on new young fans, it's going to have to get away from being a stiff old man sport.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with you that he is fun to watch. I mean, if you've seen the commercials he did for MLB The Show 21, he apologizes for breaking the unwritten rules, which I absolutely love. I love the bat flips. I love the energy he just brings to the field. I love the celebrations he does, like the home run celebrations. And like you said, for this sport to grow, it needs to change. Like it's not the same sport we saw when we were growing up. It's a completely different sport for kids now watching the sport, seeing these young superstars come in. I mean, it has to change. I think Tatis is going to lead this change down the road for baseball, and he's going to be the forefront of this Padres team for a long time. He signed a 13-year contract with this team, so if hate him or love him, he is going to be on this team for a while.
Yeah, there's no reason to hate that kid, and if you do,
shame on you.
Go watch golf. I mean, golf is mostly a gentleman's game. There are some guys out there that are kind of jackasses, but either way, golf's a gentleman's sport. If you want a gentleman's game, you can go watch bridge or badminton or something else that they don't televise. But baseball is, baseball's more fun. It's there's celebrations, there's bat flips, there's now everybody has their home run ritual, right? You get a hug from the panda bear. I think the Braves ride in some sort of stupid shopping cart.
Yeah, the Red Sox did that too. The Blue Jays, you get a home run jacket.
The Padres have the chain with the spinner on it. I believe they have a big ridiculous chain. So yeah, it's baseball's fun, and there's enough time to do that stuff. In football, you see somebody score, or you see a defensive team get a takeaway, and the entire team has to run to their end zone and do a whole bunch of shenanigans, and it just takes too long, right? In baseball, there's plenty of time to do that. Everybody can meet at home plate. You can do a keg stand. I would love
to see a keg stand. I would love to see maybe the Rays bring out a keg next time Cruz hits a home run, have him chug one when he gets to home.
Dude, that would be legit and hilarious. Like, it's gonna have to be some beefcake, running it. I was thinking Panda would be funny. Like, he runs out there with his panda head with a keg above his head and slams it down on home, and you got Brandon Crawford doing a keg stand, or Chris Bryant won't be back there, but anyway.
Let's make this happen.
Moving on. American League MVP, the
a no-brainer.
Coolest dude in baseball, honestly, and
it's
praise God that it's an international superstar in Shohei Ohtani. We had the conversation, talking about international. I think when we first started this podcast is when Stephen A. Smith was doing those jackass comments about him being the face of baseball, and the face of baseball can't be a guy that can't speak English, and that's complete bullshit.
It is. I completely disagree with that statement.
So Shohei was a ton of fun. He pitched, he hit balls really far. They called them moonshots. Just the way he hits the ball out of the ballpark was hilarious. It's almost like a softball swing. Like, he just uppercuts it so hard that the ball goes like a million miles in the air and lands, 450 feet away.
And I think just as soon as you see him hit the ball, he swings, he stops, and you know it's going to travel 450 feet into the next zip code. It's just as soon as it leaves the bat, you know it's gone, and he is so much fun to watch. I look forward to seeing him do this again next year when he's pitching and hitting. I mean, he was 9-2 as a pitcher this year, plus he had 40 home runs. So when can you say someone? When can you say that an MVP went out and pitched 9 winning games, but also hit 40 home runs that traveled 450 feet or greater? You can't
Yeah,
say that often.
I mean, he only. Oh, yeah. Like I don't. It's never happened in my lifetime. I mean, with a 3.18 ERA, in 130 innings pitched, struck out 30% of batters faced. Um, his FWAR as a hitter was 5.1. His FWAR as a pitcher was 3.0. Fucking 8.1 FWAR. You heard us talk about, Harper having the 9 FWAR when he won the MVP in 2015. Those are big numbers. Those are like advanced wins above replacement statistics, and you're basically like winning 8 games by yourself, all by yourself. And that's just insane, especially for a guy that does both. He swept the voting, won all 30 out of 30 first place votes. Other finalists were 2 Blue Jays, Vlad Guerrero and Marcus Simeon. We talked a lot about their stat lines earlier, so we won't take away from Shoei here because he was. I mean, if there was only one single MVP like they have in football and basketball, it would be Shoei.
Oh, absolutely. And I think back to early in the season when the Angels were playing the White Sox, and I got a chance to first see him do this. And he went out pitched, and he was pitching phenomenal, and then he's batting second. I mean, and your question is like, how is Joe Man going to do this when he has to make a change? Like, how will this work? And for some reason, this worked for him. He was able to go out and be effective on the mound, be that dominant hitter that you had to think about going as a pitcher. It's like, how do you pitch around him? You now have that thought in the head of how the hell did I pitch around Shohei Ohtani? Who, if I throw him down the middle, he'll take me 400 feet down the left field line without even thinking about it and without even trying. I mean, he is the face of Major. I will say this: he is the face of Major League Baseball. I think he is going to be the face of this league for a very long time. I think you're going to see a lot of players kind of try to mimic what he's doing. And I would love to see more two-way players come up into this game because I think that's what we need. I think we need a couple more two-way players to join this league and just make this more fun because I love seeing stuff like this, especially at the All-Star game where he goes and competes in a home run derby and then starts the game the next day and hits in that game as well. So I say he's the face of Major League Baseball right now, along with Tatis Jr. I think you put those two at the front and you run with it.
Yeah, I think Vlad Guerrero has a place as well. He's a young stud superstar. Dad played. Vlad Senior is, he was when I first got really, really into baseball and, minor league baseball, prospects, stuff like that, the fun stuff that like a lot of fans look forward to, seeing these kids come up and, getting rookies of the year and their baseball cards and all that stuff. Vlad Guerrero Sr. was one of the studs along with Andrew Jones and, watching his son come up and be an absolute terror, at the plate is it's fun, man. This is so much fun. This is like watching the Griffies again.
Oh yeah, when you get Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. I mean, obviously they can't back-to-back homer like they did back in the day, but I think it's awesome that you have both the Guerreros playing on Canadian baseball teams. Obviously, I remember Vlad Guerrero being a Montreal Expo. and now you have Vlad Guerrero playing for the Blue Jays. So you had that Canadian baseball connection with this family, which I think is just phenomenal. I think it brings a lot more attention to these teams that, I mean, for almost forgot. I mean, the Expos were almost folded back in 2002 before they moved to Washington, and the Blue Jays weren't relative until 2015 when they won the East that year. So, I mean, it's good for this. It's good for the Canadian baseball leagues.
Canadian baseball leagues?
I mean, I'm sure they got some minor leagues up there, but it's good for baseball in Canada that they want to make that sport grow and be more of that competition and make this game more international.
They want to do something other than watch hockey?
I mean, you can't beat hockey. I mean, they drop sticks and fight each other. I mean, I would love to see. Well, you do have baseball brawls, but they gotta make it a little more interesting.
Adam's drunk. Everybody, don't sweat it. No, it is good for the sport. It's good for the internationality of the sport. Northern America, being across the border. It is a cool tie to those two, to that family, in being an Expo in Montreal and a Blue Jay in Toronto from the same family. That's a really neat little twist to the story of the Guerrero family. The Expos, when I was growing up, before the strike of 94, the Expos were ridiculous. That team, Larry Walker, Vlad Guerrero,
Pedro Martinez,
they were just absolutely ridiculous. So it was a lot of fun, and I think we're seeing a lot of the Rays this year winning 107 games, or winning 100 games. The Giants winning 107 games. It's good for the sport, for teams to be good and to see these young players coming onto the scene, exploding onto the scene, like Tatis, like Guerrero, like Shohei. If you're the Angels, what do you do with Shohei since he's only signed for one more year?
That's a tough question. I mean, he has the market, and he is definitely going to be a target for a lot of teams. I say you try to ink him for at least. I'm not going to put like a 10-year deal on him. I say you ink him for maybe a 3-4 year deal. See how that plays out, and then if he continues this pitching hitting combo like he's doing, and where he can sustain it for more than a 4-year period without injuries, without any stress on the pitching arm, then I would look at just doing small 4 or 5 year contracts with him, because I wouldn't want to throw a 10+ year deal on him, and also on year 2 he goes down with another injury, and now you're left eating 8 years of a contract.
True. He's 30-something, 28. Can't remember how old he is. Hold on.
Yeah, but I believe he's already had Tommy. I believe he's already had Tommy John surgery, if I'm not mistaken. So he's already had some elbow issues. So, and that's why I think they were very cautious in this season, just because this was the first true season where he was going to be fully pitching, fully hitting, and doing this DH pitching combo. I mean, it's a risk, but the risk paid off for him, because now he's walking away with an MVP trophy.
Yeah, after having Rookie of the Year in 2018. Let's see here. Anyway, either way, let's wrap this Bad Daddy up with the final power rankings of 2021. And then I looked up the way too early 2022 power rankings just for shits and giggles. So take it away, Kunos.
All right, so your final power rankings are as followed. The Atlanta Braves, the world champion Braves, are number 1. Dodgers, number 2. Rays, number 3. Brewers, number 4. White Sox, number 5. Astros, number 6. Yankees at 7. Giants at 8. Red Sox at 9. And rounding up the top 10, the Blue Jays, who are your only non-playoff team in the top 10, round out the top 10. I have an issue with this. I have a complete issue with this power ranking.
I think it's a shit show. Where'd you get this?
MLB.com.
Oh, my God. That's terrible. So first off, why the fuck are the Giants 8th?
I don't know if they're putting playoff performers in there because if they are, and you have three of the top 5 teams who didn't even make it past the division series. I
Right.
mean,
Right. I mean, no disrespect to the White Sox, but or the Brewers, but they're not fourth and fifth. And why are the Astros sixth? How are the Yankees above the Giants or the Red Sox, who they lost to? Did the Yankees even make it out of the playoff game?
no, they lost. They
No,
lost the playoff game to the Red
no.
Sox. The Red Sox went all the way to the ALCS. I would rank. I would keep Atlanta Dodgers as your 1-2. I think that's correct. I think the Braves are your number 1 team. They're world champions. They deserve to be number 1. LA, they still have that roster on paper that's still World Series contender. They got a lot of question marks going in next season. San Francisco should be 3. I'll even put Boston as 4, and then Tampa is number 5. I think Tampa is going to lose a little this offseason. I think Boston will be a little better next year. I mean, you can flip those 2 teams, but I would say Atlanta, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Tampa, and Boston as your top 5, and that's how it should be.
Who did the Braves beat in the World Series?
Houston.
And you're not even putting them in the top 5?
No, Houston for me, I still consider them a great team, and
I mean, they did beat the Red Sox in the ALCS.
but I don't feel like they have the talent that's going to be with them next year because they got a lot more question marks than Boston has.
Well, yeah, this isn't like predictive. This is final power rankings of 2021, right? That's how I look at it anyway. I don't look at it as, having anything to do with next year because there's, like you said, there's way too many question marks. We don't know what's going to happen. If we're going to do that, I don't even think the Braves deserve to be on top because they're going to lose all those guys they traded for.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's just how I see it. If I'm looking at final power rankings, I think it, and I'm fine with not having the Astros as number 2. I mean, but they don't deserve to be outside of number 4.
No, I would ship them above Milwaukee and Chicago at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think of this, like, fucking Boston being 9th is just stupid. Toronto at 10 is fine. I'm good with that. I mean, what are you going to do? There was only, what is there? 3, 4, there's only 8 playoff teams, right?
Yeah, and Toronto's just about a game out from a wild card spot.
Yeah, and they were almost there. I mean, the only other team that might be in this is the Cardinals, who you could, make a question for above the Blue Jays, but I wouldn't put them there. So 9, I'd put the Yankees. 8, I'd probably put. I mean, if we're talking about your playoff performance, I'd probably put the White Sox. They were a huge disappointment.
Yeah, they kind of fell apart. I would agree with that one. White Sox at 8.
7, I'd put the Brewers. They disappointed. 6, I'd probably put the Rays disappointed, and then your top 5 are the Red Sox, the I probably put. It's hard to put the Dodgers in there. I mean, to put the Dodgers above any of the final 4 teams. So Dodgers, Red Sox at 3, and then the Astros and Braves. I mean, and you could flip flop the Astros and Red Sox. I think that was a really good series and could have gone either way.
I agree. So I mean, take the power rankings for how you feel. I mean, it's not going to please everyone, but I mean, it's how they felt the teams performed at the end of the season, or how they felt they were the entire year. So, but what are your too early to predict?
So this is from ESPN. Tampa Bay number 1, White Sox number 2, Astros number 3, Brewers number 4, Blue Jays number 5, Dodgers number 6, Braves number 7, Red Sox number 8, Yankees number 9, and Giants number 10. I don't think these are, too far out of whack considering how we just ended the season with pretty much the same top 10. So, it's probably right in line with what's going to happen next year. I don't know if the Rays, they're going to be good for a long time. A lot of good young talent there, but
I agree. I mean, the Rays will be good for a couple years. They got a lot of good talent coming in. White Sox will still be good. Brewers will still be good. I think those will be your only teams that are like kind of like we know will be contending. So I mean, we got about 5 months before spring training kicks off to think about how these teams are gonna work in the off season. So
definitely.
it's a long off season.
Well, we've been at this one for a minute, so we are going to dip out for the night, but we'll be back in a couple weeks. December 2nd is probably when we will be live again here. Maybe on the 1st, we'll see how our schedules work out for that week. Adam's in school. I have a job that's keeping me pretty busy. So we'll see how our schedules shake out that week, but that is when we plan on recording next. The CBA ends on the 1st of December, so that'll be right around the time we'll be able to record. Hopefully, we'll have some news on that. Maybe we'll even get an extension and not even have to worry about it. There's going to be some free agent moves. Obviously, we didn't even get to any of those. The qualifying offers that went out, the free agents that have already moved. RIP Thor. It was nice knowing you. But we will bring you all of that stuff next time on the Bullpen Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you soon.
Everyone have a good Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you later.